So, in accordance to my lack of consistency in using a deck for more than one tournament in a row, yesterday, even yesterday's tournament, I decided to finally give Ignites a crack. I actually managed to get my hands on my third Crusader before the tournament started, so that managed to complete the deck. I think I did make one last slight change before the tournament, and this ended up taking me to second place finish. I'd have been pretty damn good chances to get first place had I not lost that game 3 to a solemn warning, but it is what it is. I was relatively salty about that when it actually happened, but now I'm just sort of over it and can be quite content with the way this deck's gone out, because this is the first time I've ever actually used this deck. I did a couple of test hands before the event, but aside from that, this Locals was the first proper hit out with this deck that I've ever actually had with this. So I'm very happy with the way it's come out. I'm going to go through the list. This is the library build. I'm not running any of the Igknight stuff other than the pendulums. And I am running 3 of each. So I've got Templar, I've got Crusader, Paladin, Squire, Margrave, and Gallant. There's really nothing to say about these aside from if you have 2 of them, you can blow them up, add 1 more Igknight monster to hand, or just any Fire Warrior even. But in this case, that wasn't of any relevance since they were the only targets I had. I wasn't running it like any Blaze Man or anything like that. I was like just before, but it really kind of sucked in my opinion, because I felt like it was a bit superfluous and wasn't really that necessary. So I just tried to keep it as basic as I possibly could. So I got the triple more magical library to just get more draw power off and just keep the plays going. This is really good. I managed to just take the second game in the last round, just because I opened that up and pretty much just went full nuts. Only other 3 monsters I played: the 1 copy of the Lost Pendulum to make Ignis of Prominence a thing, the 1 Rescue Hamster. This was actually useful in one situation where I managed to get a couple of Margraves out and make a rank 5. Aside from that, it never actually showed up a whole lot. I'm probably going to take this down as well. He made for a pretty decent side out. Rescue Rabbit's kind of crappy as well, in all honesty. Like, the theory was that I would have this in case I didn't open any of my Igknight Pendulums, but, I've kind of got a shit life for those. And so, like, this basically just be the 1 card rank for to at least give me some kind of board presence. The only time I actually used this, I normal summoned it just to overlay it and not actually use the effect, because I already had, I think, like 5 of my level 4s in the extra deck, so it pretty much served no purpose. It might not have been a bad idea to run at least 1 rank 3, but kind of can't really go back and do that again now, can I? So probably would if I could, but triple Upstart Goblin for the draw power. Couldn't fit both it and Chicken Game in there. I thought I could, but then it turned out I actually unintentionally bopped the deck up to 43, so I had to take either Chicken Game or Upstart out, and unfortunately the Chicken Game was the thing there, because Upstart's just really simple and just bam, that's all you really need to do with it. Chicken Game is just a slightly more complex. So triple Rotor, triple Summoners up for the search power, pretty standard. Also running the 2 copies of Wavering Eyes, because I found myself in situations like going into the tournament when I did my test hands. I found myself a lot of situations where I could only make a Pendulum summon if I set my Luster Pendulum in the scale, and aside from my opponent maybe just blowing it up or something like that, I couldn't actually get the Luster Pendulum out of the Pendulum Zone, and that severely inhibits my Pendulum summons. You could probably do the similar thing with you could probably say the similar thing with Hamster, but at least Hamster has its own sort of banish stuff to add stuff, so it can get itself out of the Pendulum Zone if you need it. It's just Lost the Pendulum was the annoying part, so I went with the Wavering Eyes. The other thing as well is that I dealt with a lot of stuff that tried to blow up the Pendulum scales. So just by chaining this, I still get the search and the burn, and I burn the opponent for 500. So it's basically just don't really use it unless you have to. It's really that what it does. Pot of Riches. if not for the fact that it restricts your summons, special summons during the turn to the pendulum summon, I might consider running 2 of these just because I usually go into big Xyz when I mass pendulum. I'm obviously going to go straight into Xyz plays, which means everything is just going to fall off into the graveyard. So that's basically a way to get stuff back. I still might consider playing the second one because I do have a couple of cards that I want to take out and put in. Obviously, when the next set comes out, I'm going to reduce my level 3s and level 3s along with Margrave and Gallet to 2 each, so I can put 2 copies of Derringer, 2 copies of Veteran. But yeah, speaking of cards that are taking out, the first of the traps is Skill Drain. Only time I saw this, I actually lost because of it. So I'm just gonna throw it away. not gonna run Skill Drain in this deck. It sucks. Like if I had something that worked with the Skill Drain, like Acid Golem or Crazy Box or something like that, then it might not have been so bad. But I needed a 40th card, so I just threw the damn thing in because it was just like generic Floodgate, just say no to stuff. Lastly is the 3 copies of Tyrant's Throws. I didn't even know I had these. I grabbed them out, I think, the night before the tournament. Like, I was looking through my drawer down over in that direction. I was full of common traps, and so I just dumped my way through that, and I found I actually had 3 copies of these, so I'm just like, sweet. I initially had 2 and decided to side one, but the card's just too good. You basically want to have that for one of your 2 first turn plays. The other one being stuff that we will talk about in a short moment, because that's it for the main deck. Now for the extra deck. Only Synchro play was Ignis to Prominence. Makes sense. Probably should have played 2, but this extra deck was so tight on room as it is. I wanted to sort of... I did want to try First of the Dragons, but it just took up a space in the extra deck that I could have easily filled with something that would have been a lot more likely to be a thing. Even as well, I was running 2 of these and I cut this down to 1. One situation I actually did feel that I needed the second one, so I think in future I will put the second one in. It's just a matter of what I cut from this extra deck in order to put that in. As for the other stuff, I'm going in descending rank order. Gaia Dragon, of course, because we're running rank 5s. My 1/6 is Photon Strike Bouncer. This is quite literally the cheap man's giant hand. I mean, it doesn't stop stuff from attacking, which I believe is what giant hand does. I think it's just like a Fiendish Chain. But this will burn. It's also a bigger body, and it's not that difficult to go into. It'll be easier when you have more level 6s, which will be happening in the next set. But a lot of the time, whenever I go first, I would make this plus Durendal. This combo here, this actually won me my Yosenju matchup. Just having this combo, my opponent just couldn't do anything. So this is really good in the Yosenju matchup. I believe I did lose against... I actually did lose the final despite having this, or was it? My only 2 losses were in the last match and in the last round of Swiss. I think one of those 2 matches I had this and they got over it. I believe it was the last match, which was unfortunate, but it's a hard thing. Durendal in and of itself, while they actually have the opportunity to talk about it, this thing's actually really good because, like, if you set this up with Pendulum Scales, even if they try to Raigeki you, you just chain this. They have to pop one of your Scales or your back row. If they know what your back row is, they might go for the back row, but then like it depends on whether or not they can actually out the Pendulum Summon next turn, because they may not actually be able to do that. So this actually makes it really hard for your opponent to like play out of, but it is possible. Like, it has been proven to be possible. So other 2 rank 5s I'm running are the Volcasaurus as well as the Diamond. The Diamond, in certain situations, might not have actually been a bad idea. I think I only really played, like, the last match, it might not have been too bad, because I can't remember how I made Durendal in that one match. I think I might have gone into it with a Ptolemaeus. I can't actually remember. But I never actually saw it. It was a shame, because I did actually get this Constellar Diamond, this ulti one, in a trade. I traded off a couple of shuttle pieces for that and the Crusader, so I was pretty happy with that. The money card, because good god, the bloody hype. But yeah, Ptolemaeus just toolboxes into those rank 5s, the Durandal and the Diamond. Would be nice to go into the Volcasaurus, but then again, you don't really need it because you can just make Volcasaurus through another way. As for rank 4s, Excalibur, Ronnie McDougall. I summoned this twice. Once I made 5 materials. The second time I only had the 4 materials, and he played around it. Yeah, I ended up losing that game and lost the match, which was unfortunate. Digestor Emerald. This is basically just a theory of everything's falling off into the graveyard, so just get it back, or even bring them back, because they're all normals. Exciton. Now, funny thing with the Exciton, I finally put it back in because of the issue with, what do you call him? Fucking, with last Thursday, not having this, finding situations where I need it. Unsurprisingly, I did not have any situations where Exciton was needed, so it never actually saw any play. The funny thing is, though, I'm not running a Beast Dweller in here, and I actually found a situation where I needed a Beast Dweller, so my extra deck is actually kind of pissing me off, because whenever I run something, I never actually need it. And when I don't, I do. Heartland Draco, I got this out once, and I had Scales on board, so it's just like, yeah, you can't attack me. They Dark Hold it. It was unfortunate, but I still got the 2k swing in, which was pretty nice. Castell, I think I saw this a couple of times. Blade Armor, I dropped it once. And Kangorgan, I believe I dropped once as well. Kangorgan's really good to deter MSTs away from floodgates like the throws. So I was actually quite happy with that. Then for the side deck, I played Triple Denko. My top 4 and my last match were actually rematches of games I played in Swiss. For the top 4 was the rematch of my round 3 against Yosenju's. Game 2, I opened with this. He let me go second. And so I drew this as my 6th, made big board presence, ran over. I believe he Dark Hold or something like that. Yeah, I think he Dark Hold. And so I was just sort of looking to push for some damage through the back row. And then I just topped another one. And I literally won the game just because of that. And so, Denko was good. One Regeki sided it in against stuff that would like swarm fields, against, because my last match along with my round 2, they were against AromaDolls. So I'd side this against that, because I'd usually just blow their field up and then just get big damage in, and that should usually seal the game. Shared Ride, this is a late addition to the side deck, because one of the other guys decided they wanted to play spellbooks. Thankfully, I did not get that spellbook matchup, so this Shared Ride was entirely unnecessary, but it was in there in case. 3 MST, about standard. You don't really want to main it in this deck, because the only spells you want are spells that will progress you towards what you want to do. Which, on that subject, you'll notice in the main deck there was no Summon Monk. Summon Monk sucks in this deck. I would not advise playing it. Like, most of the spells you're main decking, you don't want to discard them. You, Upstart maybe, but you don't want to discard your search spells. Just terrible. For the traps, played 2 Vanities and Emptiness. My spicy tech in the form of Tyrant's Tirade, I never actually started this in. I think maybe once. It's a bit superfluous. I actually like to give it a proper, test, but I'm probably, I don't know, I'm not kind of sure about this card. Its effect is tribute 2 monsters to effects of effect monsters that activate in hand or field cannot be activated. So it's basically just, this was intended to be just another sort of way to get over Psy-frames, because there was at least one Psy-frame player there last night. So if I ended up getting him, I would side this in, wait till he have an established board, wait until he summons a wind-up rabbit, or actually has something like a monster on board, and then flip it at that point. Short of MSTing it or anything like that, from there it's just a matter of, you can't do anything. It's unfortunate. So that's what it is. And then lastly, the 3 Royal Decree. I sided this in against round 4 against ChronomaFacts, still lost because I saw this in 2 MSTs. Did not see enough of what I needed. I did not have enough stuff to progress my game state, and so my game state stalled, and his just flourished. So that's a bit of an issue I may have to work on, but for now it's just a matter of, I don't have to worry too much. I'm probably not going to play this deck again until after the new stuff comes out. So I will place these 6 current Ignites here while I go through my tournament report. Round 1 I actually got what is it? Zing scraps with Exodia. Yeah, it wasn't like a straightforward 2-0. I mean, it was a 2-0 obviously, but it was not quite a straightforward 2-0 because I had to deal with him drawing into shit with our supply squad, and I had to deal with creation. I eventually did end up pushing over. Like, I Excitoned game 2 and just cleared everything off his board, and that won me that game. But yeah, it was pretty much just janky stuff against, yeah, not a whole lot more to say. Round 2 was the first match against AromaDolls. I honestly can't remember how game 1 went. Game 2 though was ended in rather hilarious fashion. He activated Prohibition to declare Tyrant's Throws. Except for the fact that I could just chain the copy that was already face down on my board. So I still actually managed to get it off anyway, because, I mean, it's face up on the board before resolution, so it won't be affected by the Prohibition. So that is some good stuff there. Round 3, I got Yosenju's. Game 1, I believe it was just a matter of pushing over the back row, and I think that was about it. Game 2, I went, he let me go first, and so I went the turn 1 Durendal Bouncer play, and he had literally no answer to that. And then round 4, I had the ChronomaFacts that just maintained enough board presence to just push me out of the... Basically just pushed all of my stuff out of the way, and so I ended up losing that. And then obviously I had the Decree double MST, which was good to stall for just a bit, but it still didn't advance me to my game state. My draws there were kind of crummy, so I ended up losing that match. I then got the Yosenju matchup again for the top 4 match. Again, I went turn 1 these 2, or should I be more accurate to point out these 2, and so once again he had no answer to that. And then game 2, it was the Danko plays, it was the Danko show, Danko Saka basically, because I top decked the second one and basically sacked him with it and won. So and then the last round match, I got the AromaDoll matchup again. I lost the first match. I lost the first game to, I think, just out resourcing, and then game 2, I basically just went full sort of get everything in the extra deck, go Riot, blow up his back row, and then basically just swing for massive damage. I didn't OTK him, but I think he actually scooped like on my next turn or something like that. And then in game 3 went into time. He put a board of Construct Grista on board. He had no cards in hand, so Grista was useless. So I took the risk. I went for the Pendulum for 4, getting, I think it was 2 Gallants and 2 level 4s. No, it was 2 Margraves and 2 level 4s, because I was going to make Morcosaurus with the 2 Margraves. He met me with a warning, and with the 2 attacks from that would have left me with about 250, and I was going into turn 4, so I pretty much had to OTK him that turn, and I think I only had like a Squire in my extra deck, so like as soon as the warning came down, I scooped up, because I was literally out of the game by then. That warning literally slaughtered me. It was literally just the critical hit, so that was rather unfortunate. But still a very respectable second place finish. And with that now out of the way, probably not going to do anything until the next tournament, so I guess you just get to look forward to that and the tournament report, even though I'm probably going to suck, since I'm going to be playing, if I can put these bloody cards back into their right order, I'm probably going to be playing Red Eyes at Sunday's tournament. If not, possibly maybe just be tempted to run stupid old Satellas, just because I now have an excuse to play them in the form of the ulti diamond. So that's the way this worked. So I was pretty happy with it. Hopefully this time around, it's not going to take an eternity to freaking upload, because I think I had to mess around with my firewall settings to speed up the upload process. Hopefully I was correct in this theory. There's only one way to find out though, and I'll be finding that out after eucalyptus tree. But yeah, just bye.